Federal prosecutors could rest their case today in the sex trafficking trial against R. Kelly. Now his executive assistant of 16 years is telling our Michael Strahan about what she says she saw inside Kelly's homes, including his live-in girlfriends and female visitors. Here's Michael Strahan.
It's the bombshell trial making headlines. R&B superstar R. Kelly in federal court. At various points over the span of nearly 2 decades, allegations from sex trafficking to child pornography have swirled around R. Kelly, but he has not been found guilty of any crimes. The singer, now back in court and claiming his innocence again, pleading not guilty to multiple federal charges, including racketeering and sexual abuse.
There were women always, coming at him.
Diana Copeland served as R. Kelly's executive assistant off and on for 16 years, taking the stand, sharing details from her experience working in his homes.
I believe I can fly.
At the time, Kelly was one of the biggest selling male artists and music producers. His hit song, I Believe I Can Fly, winning him 3 Grammys. How would you describe him as a person?
He's charismatic. And I think that's one of the reasons why people kind of say he has 2 personalities, because when you meet him, he has, he's a really personable person. If you see him angry, that's a whole different person.
Inside Kelly's homes where she worked, Copeland said there were rules, like guests were not allowed to roam the homes. Where did they all stay?
Yeah, he would have live-in girlfriends. They had their own rooms. Guests would just come, maybe sit in the studio with him. He had like 3 properties. And those properties, there was like a certain decorum that was expected. He pretty much didn't want not just the girls to move around, but he didn't want anybody to be able to just roam his house, like a museum.
Copeland says she was asked to accompany his guests on outings. She says during shopping trips, the women often didn't interact with male salespeople.
They asked me during the trial, did you notice their reaction with males? And I did. They didn't want to speak to the males. In fact, sometimes they would ask me to interact with the males.
So they didn't want to speak to the males, or were they told not to speak to the males?
Well, that piece I can't speak to because I don't know if they were told, but I would say that you can pretty much surmise that that was probably the case.
She says while outside a fitness center waiting for Kelly to work out, she was in a van with multiple women, and one of his girlfriends needed to use the restroom, but she says refused to go because she did not have permission from Kelly. Was she afraid of him? Was she afraid that if she removed or went to the bathroom that she would be in trouble?
That's, a question, I guess, for her. But what I can say is this. There are certain rules that are put in place for safety, because when he gets out of the vehicle, he's highly recognizable. So now whomever gets out of that vehicle, there's a spotlight, a target on that person.
No speaking to men, the texting to use the bathroom, none of that raised an alarm for you. You didn't think any of that was a little strange?
I know Robert, the family man, the businessman, but his personal life is Robert's personal life. So my job stops at the threshold of his bedroom door.
Copeland says multiple live-in girlfriends and other women would visit his homes, and one of her jobs was making their travel arrangements. In court, Kelly has been accused by some women of traveling them across state lines when they were underage. Another alleged victim telling the jury she was even held captive for several days. Diana maintains she didn't see anything like that. When you're making travel arrangements, of course, you need the date of birth. So how old were these women?
They ranged in ages, no one under 18. In fact, when this case came up, I'm reading that women are locked up and kidnapped and these things of that nature. And that's not what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing anybody that's trying to leave or any locked doors. Every woman that's left has walked right out the door.
Did he ever ask you to recruit women for him?
He's never asked me, but at the time, I'm only saying that he was R. Kelly. A mega superstar. He needed no help. I mean, absolutely no help to recruit women or to get women.
Is there anything that you think you could have, would have done differently?
You know, looking back, I think that I would have done things the same way I did. I don't think that anything that I did was wrong, or, and I also don't think that anything that I could have done would have changed what Robert did. I can only control Diana.
All right, our thanks to Michael Strahan for that interview. And I'd like to bring in attorney and former assistant DA of the Eastern District of New York, Maura Penza, for more on this. Maura, thanks for being here. We've now heard Diana Copeland's side of the story. So how do you think her testimony has impacted this case?
Well, Diana, good morning. I'm happy to be here. Having looked at some of the reporting on Ms. Copeland's, that Ms. Copeland testified to, what I think is really powerful for the prosecutors in this case is that Ms. Copeland is somebody who really was part of this enterprise. She really saw how these rules worked, what it was that was keeping R. Kelly in a position to really commit the crimes that he was committing. And when you have this consistency, witness after witness talking about the ways in which it operated, talking about what was expected of these girls and women, talking about what their lives were like, that is really powerful evidence for prosecutors, especially when you have somebody like Ms. Copeland, who was there on the inside and who is not looking like she is particularly eager to be testifying against R. Kelly. So that in particular, I think, speaks really strongly. And then if you actually look at the testimony that she provided, what the prosecutors here are trying to show is that this was not just R. Kelly, the man, who was committing bad acts, that it was really R. Kelly and this inner circle and this group who was helping him because they were getting financial opportunities, because they were getting other benefits, and that is how these crimes happened. And so really making it look more like traditional organized crime. So Ms. Copeland at trial, she didn't talk about this with Michael, but she actually testified that that R. Kelly would have her stripped down and put on a robe to make sure that she wasn't wearing a wire. This is the sort of thing that we see in mob cases. And so when you hear Ms. Copeland say, you know, my role stopped at the bedroom door, I don't think there's anything else that I could have done, I think juries are going to be inherently skeptical of that. And they are going to see that the reason R. Kelly was able to operate the way that he was because he had all of these people around him who were enabling this sort of behavior.
Now, federal prosecutors could rest their case against him today. So what do you expect to see in court as this trial wraps up?
Well, I think that the prosecutors have put together a really strong case. I think we'll wait and we'll see whether R. Kelly is going to put on any defense. Of course, he has no obligation to do that. And I think soon we'll be looking at a closing argument, and you're going to hear the prosecutors, all who are very senior prosecutors who have a lot of experience prosecuting cases with victims, cases involving organized crime. And you're going to hear them laying out the elements for the jury and showing how all of these witnesses, including witnesses who were not friendly to the prosecution, are saying all of the same things, and that it has this consistent testimony, all of the corroborating evidence that the way R. Kelly acted and the way that this enterprise acted, these means and methods of control, of coercion, that is how he was able to act this way for so long and commit so many crimes against minors and women.
And Maura, quickly, he's faced allegations like this in the past, but never been found guilty of any crimes. Why would this time be any different?
I think this is a really different case. The Eastern District of New York is, I'm biased, that's where I worked, but they're a really storied prosecutor's office. There was so much evidence in this case. They had so many witnesses spanning so much time, and they had this sort of corroboration that I think is really going to make a meaningful difference in this case.
All right, we'll see. Maura Penza, we appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.